There are many signs that spring is on the way. The BDI opens, the city starts cleaning up the streets, and St. Leon Garden at St. Mary's and Carriere opens up for business for the season. On Friday, April the 30th, St. Leon Garden opens for their 42nd year. And here to tell us about the opening this year is Colin Remillard from St. Leon Gardens. Hi, Colin. Nice to have you here.
Hey, Chris. How's it going?
Good. So St. Leon's Gardens opens as of Friday. Are you looking forward to having people back buying from the shop?
Yeah, we're pretty excited. It's, well, to say the least, it was a winter and a half, you know. I think everyone felt it. It wasn't the most pleasant winter we ever had. And it wasn't weather-based this year, you know. So I think everyone's really excited. The staff's pretty excited to be back. The owners, us, were pretty excited to be back. And there seems to be an incredible amount of enthusiasm from the customers as well. Shopping outdoors and just, you know, a good sign of summer is here. So I think everyone's pretty excited. I
actually used to live right across the street from St. Leon's Gardens. I lived on Metcalf, and I remember every year it would whenever it would open up, there'd be a bustle of activity. How early do you have to start planning for an April 30? Like, when did the opening for this start? When did the planning for that start?
We do take a bit of time off in the winter time, but this year especially, we kind of just kept on working throughout the entire winter. So the planifications, or the planning rather, for this opening were started, you know, in January. But really the setup starts at the beginning of April. We really, you know, we kind of choose an estimated date, which is subject to change. That's why we don't announce the opening until basically a week before we open. It's all weather related. One year, if we open and there's snow, it really crushes everything down. So we just, in terms of like the dynamic, and it basically prevents us from opening. So we got to be careful weather-wise. But this year, we start usually early April. We start talking about it. We start discussing all the really crucial things that need to go into the preparations. This year, we're doing renos again to the setup of the store, just kind of give a little bit more room in the shopping experience. Something we tried a little bit last year, but then we're doubling down a little bit, widening the aisles, making sure that people are a lot more comfortable than in the past, I think, especially because of COVID, but also just such a general feeling. We want people to be a little bit more comfortable shopping in the store, a little bit less cramped, if you will.
Right. So along the lines of COVID, is there anything that people who are planning on shopping at St. Leon's will need to take into account when they show up?
Nothing drastically different compared to last year. We're still going to have mandatory masks. We're still going to be heavily limiting the number of customers allowed in the store. It's going to be based on kind of whatever's comfortable at the time. It's going to also, you know, rely on government guidelines a little bit as well. While we kind of take things a little bit, we want to make sure the shopping experience is even more comfortable than it's supposed to be. We take things even more seriously because it's such a small, you know, shop. We want to make sure people are safe. So that'll evolve over the summer, over the course of the season. But I think it's going to be largely the same as last year. We're still going to have the same bustling, happy energy. Still great array of locally produced goods and delicious fresh breads. And all sorts of new products as well this year, which is super cool. We've added some displays in our stores to kind of expand our offering a little bit, so I'm pretty excited about that. And we're also going to have plants in the spring like we did last year. So I think everything's, knock on wood, is going to be fairly similar to last year, which is a good sign because I think last year the reception was very positive from the, you know, even the diehard customers who've been with us for years and the new customers we gained last year. The feedback was overwhelmingly positive, not only in like the safety guidelines we had in the store to make sure it's safe, but just generally the energy was still positive despite the fact that we were in the midst of a global pandemic, which kind of brought the whole mood down a little bit. Just a little bit.
Just a teeny bit.
Just a teeny bit.
One of the things that comes to my mind is most of your goods are local, come from local growers and whatnot. And owning a business, there's always this idea of getting stock in. Was there anything that you had a hard time getting in because of COVID?
A lot of gardening-related goods are going to be tough this year. Specific varieties of plants are going to be sold out. Tropical plants are going to be incredibly hard to get. That's a worldwide phenomenon right now. tropical plants, things that people are planting in their homes that they've done so over the winter are basically out of stock because the suppliers just can't keep up with the demand right now.
So give me an example of that.
Well, tropical plants, so like I assume an aloe vera plant, for example,
Okay.
or a pathos. These plants that are being purchased in large quantities by consumers over the winter in a need to beautify their living space, right?
Right.
We're spending more and more time inside of our homes, kind of nestled in there. We want to make sure it's a cute and enjoyable place to hang out in. So people are buying tropical plants by the truckloads. But the supply is a slow supply when it comes to that kind of plants. These are slow-growing plants that have a hard time adapting to this increase in demand. Just regular things like I think soil is going to be a little tricky. I suspect there's no huge problems yet, but like last year, we saw just a huge increase in demand in gardening goods. People who are living in apartments who normally wouldn't necessarily have the time to garden suddenly have this patio that they're in the mood to grow herbs, basil, tomatoes in containers, which is awesome. It doesn't mean the market has to respond accordingly. So I think there's going to be a little bit of shortages there. I think, like last year, we're going to see a big increase in grocery industry as a whole. We were amongst the really lucky and privileged industries that saw a decent increase during the pandemic. So we're really blessed for that. We're really grateful. So I think there's going to be a similar enthusiasm for produce, generally speaking. And I think there's year over year, there's even more enthusiasm for locally produced goods. So I think there's not going to be a problem in supply in that regard because the local market has shown that it always can respond positively, respond and match the demand. But I'm happy to see the demand go up for local produced goods.
Right, and it sort of leads nicely. I mean, you're local, 100%.
Yeah.
So, by shopping in St. Leon's Gardens, people aren't only supporting local businesses, which is something that has become so important during the pandemic, but you're also supporting local growers as well, right? Like all the people that you're ordering the various fruits and whatnot from.
Yeah,
right?
and just to clarify, we obviously do sell goods that aren't produced locally, like peaches and stuff like that. Things that aren't ever going to grow in Manitoba.
Right.
But we do have like a network of over 200 local producers, whether they be jam makers, whether they be makers of pies, frozen pies, or just farmers. And so our goal has always been at St. Leon's to increase the accessibility of locally produced food. We think there's need to kind of there's a lot of stuff that are being purchased and consumed that could be produced here that just isn't for some wild unknown reason. So our goal has always been to just make sure as much as can be things that are produced here should be purchased here. So we have grocery store hours. We're open from 9 to 9 and 9 to 6 on Sundays. We're open every day of the week. So that's always been our goal. And we strive to make our pricing very affordable, very accessible to average consumers. And we just keep doing that every year over year. And I think it's going to be a good year. So.
Mm-hmm. Sounds great. Okay, so hypothetical.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a total beginner gardener, and I'm embarrassed to say that because I come from a family of farmers. But I want to get out, do some gardening because there's so little to do because everything's closed down. It's a great way to get outside and enjoy the outdoors. What are some simple plants that I can get that I won't kill in the first couple weeks?
Yeah, Chris, do you have a backyard? Do you have a patio? Or
backyard.
Backyard. Essentially my go-tos are always tomatoes, cucumbers, and maybe a few peppers, but peppers aren't the easiest. And then herbs. Like herbs are things you're going to actually use while you're cooking, right? Don't grow things you're never going to use. If you don't like eggplant, don't waste your time growing eggplant. If you want an eggplant, go buy an eggplant, right? If you're not an avid consumer of cucumbers, don't waste your time. Don't grow cucumbers. Make sure you're growing something you really want to consume. You're really going to be excited to produce. I'm a big fan of tomatoes. We have well over 101 varieties of tomato plants at St. Leon Gardens. And since then, I've been such a fan, basically a freak when it comes to tomatoes. I grow over 30 varieties in my backyard typically, but these are things I enjoy. They're easy to grow. They're tough plants. You can water them here and there, but most of the time they kind of deal with it themselves, especially if they're in the soil. So I would say tomato plants if you're in the mood. When it comes to herbs, the only one that's kind of a little bit more finicky is basil. Basil is the most popular herb, the most beautiful one. Delicious with tomatoes and mozzarella, but it's a little bit more fragile. You just got to make sure you don't water it too much, and it's very susceptible to frost and to cold. Anything under 10 degrees, the basil will just croak on you. So sometimes I'd recommend, especially if you're doing basil in your herb garden, put it in a planter, put it in a pot you can bring inside. Especially the entire month of June sometimes is very sketchy, or the entire month of May rather. Even June last year was a bit sketchy with frost. So anything under 10 degrees at night, bring in your basil, otherwise it'll die. The rest, thyme, oregano, rosemary, these are slower growing plants. But
what about mint?
Mint, easy. It's tough to kill mint. Just don't even touch it. Just let it go, and it should do its thing. In fact, a lot of people have mint that's invasive in their garden. So I recommend keeping mint. While it's not supposed to survive the winter, it often does. I'd recommend keeping it in a planter so that it doesn't start taking over your potato rows or your carrots, because it's a very powerful plant, the mint.
And is there any flowers that you would suggest to keep away bunnies?
Oh, yeah. Well, there is the classic marigold trick, but to be honest, Chris, it works very poorly in practice, I must say. The best is unfortunately a fence, a little even 1 to 2 feet fence is the best. I've learned that the hard way. I've lost, you plant all your beautiful tomatoes, the little seedlings, you're all ready to go. You have a beautiful day, you put some sunscreen on, you got your beer cracked, it's wonderful. And then the next morning you wake up and they're all cracked, they're all eaten by the beautiful little rabbits. So I would suggest, as much as I'd love to be able to just say, yeah, there's a secret marigold plant that everything shies away from, the best is a little fence, unfortunately. Especially in, I don't know, but my neighborhood in St. Boniface, there's just rabbits absolutely everywhere.
Yeah.
It's impossible to turn a corner without.
I'm in South Osborne, and they're just...
They're everywhere.
They're everywhere.
So cute, though, Chris. Oh, yeah. So cute.
If they didn't eat your vegetables, that's the only thing.
Yeah.
When you open for the season, is there anything that goes out the door immediately, like they get sold out super fast, or is there anything?
We try not to have products that aren't consistent. So we deal a lot with vendors in the local realm. Like sometimes it's new vendors, sometimes it's vendors that have been in business for long. But one of the main things is like your delivery consistency, product quality, and supply. If we're not really in the mood to bring in a new product on our shelves that's going to run out within the first week, it's not good for the customers to get used to a new product and then just disappearing on the spot. And it's not good to have an empty shelf that you have to suddenly replace in the middle of the season. Right. So it's not a promise that we're never going to run out of food, but our goal is always to maintain a pretty good supply, which is why we're pretty lucky to have so many suppliers and producers in our Rolodex, if you will, because if ever one supplier during the season runs out of a certain product, certain vegetable, we have other contacts to contact so we can have a consistent supply. That's the secret to our business, basically, is all these contacts.
Right. Yeah. And you earlier you touched on this before. You've got new product and you've got new displays out for this year. Can you talk about some of the new things that you're excited about?
I'm going to be very careful because I'm not the product manager. It's our wonderful Kayla who's taking care of that for the past 2 years. She's doing a wonderful job. I won't name drop anything yet. But I think people are going to be excited to see. There's a whole new shelf. Basically, we added a whole new shelf, and there's going to be new coolers as well. So we'll see what happens. But it's all going to come down this week. We're actually filling the shelves today. So we're going to see a bunch of new products show up. So I'm pretty excited. But I don't want to name drop too many things because I might, miss some really important new vendors. So I got to be careful.
Okay, sounds great. So St. Leon's Gardens is opening on Friday, April the 30th. For our listeners, can you tell us exactly where you are? And if they want to find out more information about the shop, where can they go online?
Yeah, so we're St. Leon Gardens is located basically at the heart of the city in St. Boniface, St. Vital area at 419 St. Mary's Road, right on the main stretch of road there. We're opening at 9 a.m. on April 30th, the Friday. And you guys, I would invite you guys to check out our website, stleongardens.com. Our Instagram is subject to a lot of beautiful pictures of beautiful local food. If you guys want to check it out, it's St. Leon Gardens. It's at St. Leon Gardens. And our Facebook page is pretty active as well. That's pretty much where we're going to be sharing all the new products. Whenever the asparagus comes in, one of the first local product to come in, the radishes, that'll be posted on those. But yeah, 419 St. Mary's Road, 9 to 9 every day, 9 to 6 on Sundays. It's wonderful.
Yeah, it sounds great. I mean, I was on your website, and there are some just amazing pictures of fresh fruit. I'm hungry.
Yeah, it's something about saturated pictures of fresh fruit that just,
I think for me, it's the color and the juiciness.
Thanks so much.
Colin, this has just been great. And for all our Classic 107 listeners out there, if you go to classic107.com, I'll provide a link right on the website exactly to St. Leon's Gardens.
Thank
Colin,
you so much.
Thank you. I'm hungry. I'm going to go eat.
Good idea.
Thank you.